Hello and welcome to Discourse at Peacocks, where today we are going to be discussing the Leeds versus Watford game, where Leeds United beat the London-based team 2-1. We'll get straight into it with the good, and then we'll go on to the bad, and then we'll go on to the comparison. So to start with the good, we had two early goals, brilliant strike from Ramazani, aided by some poor goalkeeping from the Watford goalkeeper, followed up by a few minutes later. Aronson, the goalkeeper, saved the shot, but pushed it right into the path of Aronson. That was very much just a tap-in for Aronson on his birthday as well. So I think that's quite nice to have a little birthday goal. We had Mateo Joseph on Friday when his birthday, I believe, was on Saturday. And now we've had Aronson. Would have been nice if Rodon had have kept a clean sheet as well, because it was his birthday as well. So it would have been nice if both birthday boys got goal at one end and a clean sheet at the other. Alas, it was not meant to be. He had Firpo with another assist, which I believe brings him up to 11 for the calendar year of 2024. It wasn't Firpo's greatest games, but he got a goal contribution, and we have to look on the positive sides because this is the positive section. We showed some grit. I'm going to obviously get into the bad things later on, but we showed some grit and some determination and some kind of steeliness about us, considering that, you know, we dominated for maybe the first 15, 20 minutes, and then we very much gave Watford a way back into the game. I was surprised that they hadn't created enough to not equalise, but just to get one back before half-time. But obviously, 2 minutes into the second half, they got that goal back. You know, there's a reason why people say that a 2-goal lead is a dangerous lead, and Watford showed us, or almost showed us, why that's the case last night. But I think, you know, if you're looking at it, maybe last year or even at the beginning of this season, you look at the Portsmouth game, you know, we were dominating for that first kind of 15 minutes, got the penalty, and then let them into it. And then obviously it ended up 3-3. Aronson could have won that game right at the end, but we won't dwell on that. But we held on. We didn't allow ourselves to just completely lose it. You know, it wasn't a pretty game by any stretch of the imagination, which I didn't think that I would be saying today, considering how the first 7 minutes of the game went. I thought we were going to be, you know, getting into double digits. But again, that wasn't meant to be. Another positive is, as of the time of recording, we are, you know, we're on joint top, but Sunderland are just ahead. I'm not even sure what it is that they're ahead on, because I believe we've scored the same amount of goal difference is the same, or maybe it's one less. I can't remember. But anyway, we're on the same points as first place. But like I said, this is before the Sunderland play. Ooh, who do they play? Luton, I think, tonight. So come on, Luton. Another positive, Dan James looked good when he came on. He should have had 1, maybe 2 assists in that second half. Absolutely gorgeous ball over the top for Joseph to head in, and unfortunately he just headed it straight at the keeper, which was very frustrating, because obviously I didn't think Pirro played that well. So if Joseph had have come on and have converted that chance, again, I quite enjoy the whole Joseph not scoring, but Pirro does. So then Pirro gets a chance and then Joseph scores. The competitiveness, I think that's a great thing, but you have to take chance. And for me, Joseph should have scored that. Not going to massively go in on the guy because he's still very young, but he gets that, and we can all, you know, sigh a massive sigh of relief. And having, been in Elland Road last night, I can confirm, especially in the East Stand, it was a very tetchy atmosphere in that second half. There was a lot of frustration around the ground. So yeah, if he scores that just kind of gets him off the mark again in terms of pushing Pirro to get back his spot again. Bogle obviously could have got a absolute wonder goal had the post not saved it. I'm not convinced that it was a shot and it wasn't just a cross ball. Reminded me very much of that Rodrigo goal that was scored against Man U, that was clearly a cross gone wrong and then floated into the top corner. But again, that would have been a beautiful shot. I thought he was really good going forward. We'll talk about the other side of things in the bad section. But yeah, I thought he was really good going forward. I think that he was trying to create something down that right-hand side. And I think that had Joseph have come on earlier, I think he'd have probably got an assist potentially, because he puts in the balls that Joseph type of striker likes to get on the end of. And I've saved the final good thing until last, because Tanaka, and I know this is becoming to sound like a cliche because every single Leeds person is saying that Tanaka is incredible, but there's a reason. Is it 3.5 million? What a bargain. What a bargain that man is. I don't think that there was a single blade of grass last night that man did not cover. He was everywhere. You would blink and he would be at the other side of the pitch. He helped Firpo and Bogle out so much last night. So much so that he got a yellow card, and I was really convinced, because it was in the right back position, that it was Bogle, because I was up in the gods. So it was quite difficult at times to exactly pinpoint, unless you've got a really obvious hairstyle. It can be quite difficult to point out exactly who it is. But he was playing in the right back position, and he got a yellow card, and I was like, right, well, that's Bogle. He's out for the next game then. And it wasn't Bogle, it was Tanaka. And I thought, my God, you've helped out left back, right back, midfield. You've just been absolutely everywhere. He was incredible. I hope that we get promoted, because he is giving some massive kind of look at me vibes without being self-centered, just simply with how incredible he was. For me, without him last night, we drop points. Whether we lose or whether we just draw, without Tanaka, we drop points. That is how crucial he was last night. So yeah, Tanaka, thank goodness we have you. Definitely my man of the match. I don't think anybody really comes near him, if I'm being honest. So yeah, absolute man of the match. Thank you very much for being at Leeds United. We're going to go on to the bad section now. I don't think we can really not start with saying the first 10 minutes of the second half, we looked lost. We looked complacent, we'd kind of gone in with this false sense of security, being 2 goals up in at half time. Again, it was another game where a lot of the game was played in the midfield, but Watford actually, considering they'd been 2 goals down so quickly in the game, I thought that the way they actually held themselves in terms of they did better, in my opinion. Not only did they get a goal and Sheffield United didn't, but that kind of fight was the fight that I expected Sheffield United to bring to us on Friday. They were hemming us back into our own half a lot. They were pressing. And yes, that's probably how we got our goals, in terms of they weren't just sitting back. They were just pressing us and almost intimidating us from the forward, and the forward players were just pushing on and pushing on. So yeah, the second half did not make a comfortable watch at all, from basically the first whistle to the last whistle. Also, another thing was, I have never witnessed a team time waste whilst in a losing position to the levels that Watford did. As soon as one player went down and got back up again, another player would go down, and then another player would. And then that player, instead of having to go off and wait 30 seconds to come back on, they would just substitute them. So you've kind of got to admire the absolute dark arts that they brought to the game. But I would hate, they didn't bring a lot of travelling fans, I'm presuming, with it in a Tuesday night London team, etc., etc. But I would hate to have travelled 200 miles to watch my team spend the majority of the time on the floor or with the goalkeeper with the ball at his feet. I really would. I'd feel shortchanged. I'd feel pissed off. Yeah, I don't get it. It has its uses, and I kind of admire it in a strange kind of sense. I admire it more because we got the win anyway. But yeah, that was just something else that it's not for me. Not that level of time wasting. I want to watch football, which is not what they brought a lot of the time. They brought physicality, which I actually think, considering how our team are quite diminutive in terms of, we've got a lot of very slight players, and they are big championship grizzly bastards kind of thing. I thought we dealt with it quite well. That's by the by. Okay, now obviously Firpo got an assist, which I'm not going to take away from him. We all know, especially over the last year, how effective Firpo can be going forward. But unfortunately, last night I had Premier League flashbacks of Junior Firpo. He got outrun every single time. Strouk also wasn't great. He got done over for their goal at the start of the second half. But Firpo defensively last night was poor. He resulted in him doing the sloppy yellow card challenges. And if I'm being honest, before he got his yellow card, he'd committed 2-3 fouls, which I was like, well, that's a yellow card. And the ref didn't give it. So had I been a Watford fan, I'd have been, screaming at the referee by this point. So yeah, obviously, so now misses the game on Saturday away at Bristol. But at least it's only one player that misses a game. But yeah, I didn't think he was fantastic. I think maybe the adrenaline kept him going on Friday, in terms of obviously the quick turnaround from flying back from the Dominican back to England. Maybe adrenaline kept him going, but I think that the legs were tired. So maybe this game out will actually do him some good, in terms of he can get his rest and recuperation back ready. And then again, we don't have to worry about him. He's now got another 5 yellow cards to go. The shape and the kind of consistency of us changed when Ramazani came off and Solomon came on. I think, I've said that I think Ramazani is brilliant defensively, something which I think he's better than Somerville was last season. It's why, obviously I've got this love affair with Dan James, because I love his defensive work. But I also think Ramazani has that as well. So I think we lost a lot when he came off. I was just grateful that we were already 2 goals up by that point. But Solomon, he didn't look bad. He just looked like a player who had been out for a while and was coming back from injury. Like it just looked really obvious that was exactly the issue with him. I don't think he's overweight. I just think he's undertrained at the minute because of, again, coming back from injury. Yeah, I think, obviously Farke even said that he played longer than he wanted him to, and that really he was able and ready for. And I think that did show. Again, had we have not already scored, I think that game's completely different. I think we drop points in that game if we're not already 2 goals up by the time Solomon comes on. Bogle as well, defensively. So, both of our fullbacks, I don't think had great games defensively. Attack-wise, I thought they were both brilliant. But defensively, where I was sat in the East Stand, Bogle got chipped multiple times, and it was the exact same ball over and over again. And again, I got a bit of Jesse Marsh flashbacks again from that, where you'd have somebody doing a cross ball because our fullbacks were just so like forward and in. And Bogle yesterday was, obviously with being so far up the pitch, trying to attack. If we didn't get the job done and they gained possession back, they were just able to lob it over the top of him. So yeah, hopefully a couple of days rest will do him good. Now, we've got 4 days between now and the Bristol game. Hopefully we can work on that, especially with it being away from home as well. One thing that kept on frustrating me, and I could see why we did it, but I also, when it wasn't working, it annoyed me that it didn't change. We kept on heading the ball back into danger. So Rodon did this quite a few times in terms of when Watford, especially in the second half, were coming at us just so consistently. We just, instead of kind of heading it back to Meslier and regrouping like we usually do, we kept on just heading it back towards the danger, and then they would attack again. So instead of trying to just put our, foot on the ball, everybody, it was, half of the time it was like a game of ping pong with everybody's heads around everywhere. And you can't control the ball as effectively with your head as you can with your feet. So I would have loved them to head it back to Meslier, allow Meslier to catch, calm everybody down a little bit, regroup, get into positions. Because again, when you're heading and jumping around the ball, people are just, erratically moving around, and you don't quite know where everybody should be or is, especially if you have just been defending a set piece. People aren't stood where they would normally be stood. So it makes it more difficult for people to know where their man is, who they should be marking, etc. So that did annoy me a lot, if I'm being honest. So much so that the couple who were sat in front of me kept on looking at me when I was screaming and shouting. A reason why I'll never do a watch along is because my language is atrocious when it comes to watching Leeds United. Finally, we're going to go on to the comparison, which is, I'm going to talk about comparing where we are, with where we were at the exact same games played last season, and why, even though this was if you were to describe a gritty championship game where it doesn't go exactly how you expect it to go, I would show somebody this game. Because after the first 7 minutes, if you were to say, show somebody those 7 minutes and say, right, how does this game end? You would not say that it would end 2-1. You would not say that Leeds United wouldn't score another goal and would actually concede. You wouldn't say that at all, because that is not what the first 7 minutes looked like. So sometimes championship games just turn around and you kind of left scratching your head thinking, how on earth did that go from such a dominating first 10 minutes to begging the referee to blow the whistle at 99 minutes? So yeah, obviously, time of recording, I know I've already said this, but we are joint top on 22 points. This time last year, we were on 19 points. This year, the current top six, as it stands, right, I don't have that written down. I probably should have written that down. Sunderland, Leeds, Sheffield, Burnley, West Brom, Blackburn. And from sixth, which I believe is Blackburn, they are on 18 points. And Sunderland and us are top of the table on 22 points. There is 4 points between sixth and first. Put it into perspective, last year we were in fifth at this time last year, and Leicester were top. Leicester were on 30 points and we were on 19. At this point, Birmingham were in sixth on 18. So there was 12 points between first and sixth. 4 points this year, 12 points last year. It's a completely different league this year. It is so open. And that's a good thing in terms of there's no runaway teams, but it also means that we have to get the jobs done, because a slip up could be, the likelihood is the difference between second and third is not going to be what it was last year. I know it was, I think it was 6 points by the end of it, or 3 points. I can't remember whether Ipswich were on 93 or 96. Either way, there was at least a win in between, whereas that might not be the case. If this carries on, which I doubt it will, but after last season's, Ipswich aren't going to win that many games, blah, 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 I'm not going to take anything for granted. So if everything does carry on like it is doing, then the difference between second and third isn't going to be as noticeable as it was last season. So we have to stay within touch. We are, so I'm not concerned about how it wasn't a great performance in the second half, but we didn't lose. Earlier on this season, or even last season, especially towards the back end, we lose that game. So, we're better off than we were this time last year already. There's no runaway teams at this moment in time, even, and as well, Sunderland were in the top 3, either top 3 or top 4, definitely within, 6 was Birmingham, 5 was Leeds, first was Leicester, second was Ipswich. They were either in third or fourth this time last season. I can't remember exactly which. And where did they end up last season? They weren't even in the playoffs. They were mid-table by the end of the season. So just because the team are up there now doesn't mean that they're guaranteed to stay there. Doesn't mean that they're also guaranteed to fall away, because Ipswich didn't fall away. So I'm also not willing to jinx that either. I'm happy with where we are now. I think we have a better balanced squad. So goals are coming from multiple places. We are not kind of geared towards Pirro, geared towards Ramazani, geared towards Nonto. Everybody's goal contributions, especially around the front four, with even the defenders chipping in as well. I am happy, because if somebody goes out, we're not losing 10 goals. If somebody has a couple of iffy games, we're not dropping off as a team, because of the fact that we're so heavily focused on that one player. So I'm happy. The comparison that I would like to make is that I think we are better off this season. All of the stats back it up as well. We've scored more goals than we had done this time last season. We had scored 17, conceded 11, goal difference of 6. This year we have scored 19, conceded 8, therefore goal difference of 11. So the stats are backing up that point, the fact that we are doing better off. We are in and abouts, and we have more to come as well, because we'll have players coming back at some point. Ampadu will come back. Gruev, I'm not so sure on, but I think now that we've probably got enough in terms of, I think we're making a new signing today. I can't remember his name, and I'm not going to try and pronounce it because I don't want to offend anybody or make a complete tool of myself. But yeah, I think that we need to give ourselves a break. We got the 3 points. Doesn't matter how it's done. Sometimes it's lovely to watch great games of football, don't get me wrong. Sometimes the 3 points is all that matters. Right now, we need substance over style from time to time. If you can sprinkle in a bit of good style, then that's a bonus. As always, if you can pop a like on the stream, subscribe if you are new to this lovely journey that we are having here together. And if you agree, disagree, have any other thoughts or opinions, please pop them down below in the comment section. I will get back to as many of you as I can do. And see you again on Sunday, probably, for a match reaction. Okie dokie. See you later. Bye.